Hello, I'm LuNEJuNE, and in today's video, I'll be showing you the top 10 best dice in random dice currently. I'll be considering both PvP and co-op, so here we go. Before we get into the video, only around 25% of you guys are subscribed. If you like what you see in this channel, please hit the subscribe button since it makes me happy and probably will increase the chance of me actually making more freaking videos. Anyway, like and subscribe for more, and let's get into the video. Atomic is a pretty good dice for both PvP and co-op, however it is lacking a bit since the current PvP and co-op meta doesn't really support this dice in any way. PvP and co-op nowadays prefers instantly killing bosses as soon as it spawns, but Atomic dice just can't do that. The playstyle is completely different from so many of the other meta decks that it just kinda feels overwhelming to play against other meta decks. However, it's again percentage damage dealing DPS dice, so it's always gonna benefit from higher waves in PvP and also in co-op. Without it, it kinda is not in a good state at the moment. The meta just doesn't support this dice very well, but still a very good DPS dice nonetheless. Hell got a huge buff recently, and this buff really changed the way we thought of using this dice. We always use this dice to clear wave and to start worrying about the mini boss and boss. Since Hell doesn't activate on mini bosses and bosses, this was the huge struggle with this support dice. However, after its buff, it's looking like another win condition to PvP decks. For PvP, when the Hell dice insta-kills a mob, the mob will turn into a ghost mob flooding the enemy's lane. However, these ghost mobs don't drop any SP when killed, so it's another mob to worry about for your opponent. For co-op, it's not that great, but you can get additional SP by also insta-killing the ghost mob. But then again, not that useful in co-op, that's why it's all the way down this list. Assassin was always a decent dice in both PvP and co-op. For PvP, it's a good win condition that's balanced and very reliable, and for co-op, it's one of the best support dice you can bring to support your DPS partner. However, the reason why this all good dice is all the way this low is because people bring counters to Assassin in PvP these days, and sometimes Assassin isn't necessary in co-op. Switch in PvP is just a hard counter to Assassin. Nowadays, even solo lunar decks bring Switch, and there are several meta decks that bring Switch specifically counter Assassin dice, like I said, Solar Lunar Switch. For co-op, DPS setups like Moonbow actually gets a disadvantage if Assassin is sent. Solar Dice always was an almost perfect DPS in random dice, but the main reason why Solar is so damn good now is that Slime Boss is a thing. Yes, that annoying boss that always kills Yin Yang runs in co-op. Now if you have Solar, Slime Boss is another snake boss. Just because of this one boss, Slime was able to be on this list and not Typhoon. Obviously, Typhoon is better for all-around damage and stability, but Solar has its ramp-up damage, which isn't that high if you don't have any buff dice next to it, and splash damage, which takes care of the small slimes that the big slime leaves behind. Solar was always good, but now we have more reasons to use this DPS dice. Time dice got a huge buff where it'll now buff or debuff all the dice pips below its own pip. So if you have a 6 pip time, everything from 1 to 6 pips will get affected by the time effect. This was a huge change since buffing and debuffing in co-op and PvP was a lot easier. Also, I can't tell if this is a bug, but if you have a matching pip to the time, the buff slash debuff will be even strict and will get buffed slash debuffed even more. With time in PvP, time dice can stop a class 12 7 pip lunar at wave 10.
자, 육성 시간 보겠습니다. 2개입니다. 자, 와, 못 밀어요. 와, 12다리 10라운드에서.
This is huge since at wave 10 in PvP, class 12 7 pip lunar should be easily taking out mobs and not struggling with it. Now crack growth got a massive buff where it'll grow faster and also got its growth speed increased. This means it's basically a faster growth dice for the most part. However, this is only an epic dice, meaning you can level it up way easier than growth. And honestly, my crack growth barely downgrades anyway, so it's just a faster growth. The reason why this is this high on the list is because it's actually being used in a lot of double growth decks and also even in support decks. Since if you bring growth, there is a high chance you will get board locked sometime during the match. Bringing crack growth will give you that slight chance of downgrade and making it easier to move around dice and merge. Now growth is at number 4 because there are so many decks that actually don't use growth as their deck support dice. Some examples of this is Yin Yang in PvP and LuNEJuNE. These two decks actually are bad if they have growth dice in them, since for Yin Yang, you need to be able to switch around dice and also control your whole board with both Switch and Joker. For LuNEJuNE, you cannot have growth since you need to control the overall pips of your board. Once you reach a certain point, you won't be able to merge your nukes to survive. That's why some players even intentionally get hit by Leon to control their pips. Growth is pretty good for most decks and for most playstyles, but with the introduction of decks that strictly don't use growth, this just lost a bit of rank on the list. Still the best pip control dice for PvP and one of the best for other game modes. You guys might be surprised why this dice is on the list this high. Some of you guys might have guessed that this dice would be on the list, but is it this high? This is just my personal opinion, but we are at a meta where if we switch out any of the dice in the meta deck and replace it with nuke, it'll still make sense. This dice used to be some trash dice that no one really used, but now it's a boss and lane clearing beast. Since this dice is also percentage damage, its usefulness and damage is indefinite. This dice can play DPS in co-op, support also in co-op, and a damage dice in PvP. This dice is useful in pretty much any situation. Also, if you have it, you don't need to worry about losing due to lane mobs in PvP. After I got class 11 Lunar, I felt how huge this dice makes a difference in this game. The higher the class your Lunar is, the more different the game plays altogether. Lunar dice is also used both in co-op and PvP and is the best support dice for your DPS. It's at a point where if you have a 7-pip Lunar, some players will surrender immediately in PvP. If someone asks you how OP this dice is, you just gotta answer it by just saying this one line. This is a dice that makes all other dice OP. Even random growth where it only deals 10 damage will all of a sudden become extremely powerful when buffed by a 7-pip Lunar. Why is this number 1? Well, cause it's just OP. If you don't know what Joker dice does in game, it basically copies to another dice you have on your board if the pip count is equal to whatever dice you are trying to copy. This allows players to manipulate the game's main RNG mechanic a little bit, and it gives a huge advantage. Since you can change it to whatever dice, it's good to use it with board growth dice and copy whenever it is necessary. If you have this dice and your opponent doesn't, it'll make a huge difference in the outcome of the game. That's why so many people take this dice in their decks. Without this, it's simply impossible to play this game efficiently. There are exceptions, but those decks rely heavily on RNG only, and those decks also need space for other support dice. Thanks for watching. All of this was based upon my opinion, and please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, if you like what you see, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Wish you all a happy day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.